Determine positive and negative intervals of a graph. The first thing that we must mention about defining the positive and negative intervals is that we will describe the values on the x-axis to find the positive and negative intervals. So the first thing is to identify where the graph crosses the x-axis. In this case, for example, the graph crosses the x-axis in this point and this other point. We will say that this point is negative 2.8 and this is 6.5, for example. And then we must identify where the graph is above the x-axis and where the graph is below the x-axis. We will notice that this graph approaches to the infinite. So we will identify now the intervals which are below the x-axis. We will mark this part of the graph and this other part of the graph. So the x values where the graph is negative will be from negative infinite to negative 2.8, because all the values from negative infinite up to negative 2.8 will have a reflection in the graph below the x-axis. All these values are below the x-axis because this graph approaches to the infinite, right? And then we will notice that the values from 6.5 to the right also reflect below the x-axis in the graph, knowing that this graph approaches to the infinite. So the interval will be from 6.5, not included because 6.5 is exactly in the 0, but we are looking for the negative interval. So 6.5 not included to the positive infinite. This is negative, where the graph is negative, or negative intervals. Now we will look for the positive intervals. So we will notice where the graph is above the x-axis. So in this area we can find where the graph is above the x-axis, and we will describe the x values where is represented the graph. So we'll notice that the values where the graph has a reflection above the x-axis start on negative 2.8 and end in positive 6.5. So positive interval from negative 2.8 not included to 6.5 not